Glad you could join us for our 7:30 news bulletin. Today with me, Tandu Mzumara. First, the headlines. Pope Leo XIV invites Christians to bear one another's pain in World Day of the Sick message. Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority MERA attributes fuel price hike to rising import costs. Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiative SIDED demands fresh Chilima plane crash poll. And in other news, Uganda's military chief tells hiding opposition leader Bobi Wine to surrender. We do have the details of these stories and more. Just stay with us. Pope Leo XIV has released his message for the 34th World Day of the Sick, inviting the faithful to consider the Samaritan's compassion and how we too can offer love by bearing the pain of others. The compassion of the Samaritan, loving by bearing one another's pain, is the theme of Pope Leo's message for this year's commemoration, to be held on the 11th of February. In his message, signed 13th of January and released on Tuesday, the Holy Father has encouraged renewed reflection on the figure of the Good Samaritan ahead of the day to be solemnly celebrated in Chiclayo, Peru. We have more details in this Vatican News report read by Patrick Pupa.
Pope Leo XIV noted that this image is always relevant and essential for rediscovering the beauty of charity and social dimension of compassion, and helps further direct our attention toward the needy and all those who suffer, especially the sick. Pope Leo said he has chosen to reflect on this biblical passage through the lens of late Pope Francis on human fraternity and social friendship. He said there, compassion and mercy towards those in need are not reduced to a mere individual effort, but are realized through relationships with our brothers and sisters in need, with those who care for them, and with God who gives us his love. The Pope went on to divide his message into the gift of encounter in three ways: the joy of offering closeness and presence, the shared mission of caring for the sick, and always driven by love for God to encounter ourselves and our neighbor. Pope Leo highlighted that love is not passive, but it goes out to meet the other. Being a neighbor is not determined by physical or social proximity, but by the decision to love. The Pope went on to discuss compassion as a profound emotion that compels us to act, that springs from within and leads to a committed response to another's sufferings. The Holy Father insisted that the true remedy for humanity's wounds is a style of life based on fraternal love, which has its root in love of God, as he expressed his hope that our Christian lifestyle will always reflect this fraternal Samaritan spirit. The Pope invited the faithful to join him in praying to those blessed Virgin Mary, head of the sick, to assist all who suffer and are in need of compassion, consolation, and a listening ear, with the following ancient prayer often invoked in families for those living with illness and pain. Finally, Pope Leo XIV concluded by imparting his apostolic blessing to all who are sick, to their families, and to those who care for them, healthcare workers and pastoral workers alike, and in a special way to all participating in this World Day of the Sick.
Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority, MERA, Dad Chintambi, has explained that the recent rise in fuel prices is due to higher import costs. Addressing journalists in Lilongwe on Tuesday, Chintambi noted that current pump prices do not accurately reflect the actual cost of importing fuel, which restricts Mayor's capacity to generate revenue and contribute to funds like the Roads Fund. He added that keeping fuel prices low increases consumption as people from neighboring countries buy fuel in Malawi and some local traders export it abroad, which further boosts national fuel demand. Constance Kamtemeni and Alison Banda have filed this report.
Ntambi says that keeping pump prices out of sync with market conditions has led to fuel being smuggled to neighboring countries, a trend he calls economically unsustainable. He added that the lack of fuel price adjustments over the past 3 years has worsened the situation, noting that gradual incremental increases would have reduced the impact.
And you are forced to buy, not because you can afford, but the circumstances have forced you to buy. So in coming up with this price, the authority firmly considered the plight of the lowest, maybe the lowest earning citizen, but at the same time, the absence of the product is putting us in a much worse situation.
Meanwhile, Economic Association of Malawi ECAMA President Betha Chikadza warns that the recent fuel adjustment is likely to increase the cost of living and may also drive up food inflation.
The increase are passed on to consumers, so we generally expect that there will be actually a change or an increase in prices of certain things, but also an increase in the cost of living. And also this adjustment might also add some pressure on inflation, especially the non-food inflation, even though there is actually an easing of food inflation because of the depressed milk prices.
Concurring with Chikadza, chairperson of the Malawi Coalition for Kapaza Stakeholders Association, Moses Mwalabu, said the recent fuel price hike will affect motorbike operators, as higher fares will be driven by rising fuel costs.
It's different from minibuses, so we charge differently. And as we charge differently, it means will be affecting because not many people will not be able to use our mode of transport because they will feel that we are going to charge more as the fuel has been increased, because we are not charging less as the fuel has been increased. We charge according to the increase of the fuel, because fuel determines the prices, determines the charges of our affairs.
Under the revised pricing, petrol has increased to 4,965 kwacha per litre from 3,499 kwacha, marking a 41.90% rise. Diesel has similarly jumped by 41.29%, climbing from 3,500 kwacha to 4,945 kwacha per litre.
The Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiative, CEDED, has called on President Professor Peter Mutharika to order a fresh and independent inquiry into the tragic plane crash that claimed the lives of former Vice President Dr. Salus Klaus Chilima and 8 others. The demand follows the release of a report on the June 10, 2024 plane crash involving a Malawi Defense Force Donia 228 aircraft at Ntungwa in Katabe District by Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs Charles Mhango. Speaking during a press briefing held in Lilongwe on Tuesday, CEDED Executive Director Sylvester Namiwa said Malawians are not satisfied with the findings of the Commission of Inquiry established under the former Malawi Congress Party MCP administration. We have more details in this report filed by Manu Washocha.
Speaking during the press briefing, Namiwa urged that the commission, which was set by former President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, lacked credibility and independence, raising concerns about transparency and public trust in its conclusion. Namiwa emphasized that Malawians deserve to know the truth surrounding what caused the death of Dr. Chilima and 8 others, noting that the tragedy remains as a matter of national importance and public interest. According to Namiwa, Malawians voted for President Professor Peter Mutharika in the September 16, 2025 elections to free the country from what he described as a destructive MCP regime, adding that this mandate include restoring confidence in national institutions.
We felt duty bound to write the President, Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, asking him to name a fresh commission of inquiry, because the one that was done by the previous administration, the MCP, was rejected on the basis that they lied to Malawians. Malawians may wish to know that the president was informed of that accident minutes after it happened by a neighboring president, but the president decided to keep it to himself and allowed the 12-hour suspense. Most of his lieutenants in his government literally lied to Malawians. The first point of call should be a phone conversation between the foreign pilot, Flora Selemani, and a senior military officer at Zomba Air Base. Those two, they will unmask the whole puzzle.
SIDED has expressed concern over recent fuel hike, urging the president and mayor to review the fuel procurement system, saying some politicians benefit while ordinary Malawians suffer. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Emmanuel Juocha.
National Planning Commission NPC Director General Frederick Jangaya has called on young people to take initiative and act if Malawi is to realize the goals of Vision 2063. Jangaya noted that in the 1990s, Malawi was performing strongly, attracting attention from other countries seeking to learn from its development strategies. He lamented that today Malawi has fallen behind, with countries that once looked up to us now outpacing us in growth and development. He cited Zambia, Rwanda, and Mozambique as examples of nations that have overtaken Malawi in infrastructure and economic progress. We have more details on this report forwarded by Phyllis Chizombe.
NPC Director General Frederick Jangaya has called on Malawi's youth to start questioning leaders and holding them accountable for their actions. Jangaya emphasized that Vision 2063, being youth-focused, should be led by young people themselves, not just through government involvement, but with youths at the core of planning and decision-making. He criticized the mismanagement of funds through ghost development projects that were started but never completed, urging young people to demand accountability.
Let's do cooperatives. Let's work together. Let's go to Agricom, get loans. Let's ask government. Let's have even for grants, not necessarily subsidy for some of the activities that we must. Let's get involved in mines. Our board is going out there. Form cooperatives, get financing, do the processing of the simple processing of board and a few things. Let's participate in our minerals, farming. Let's ask of government to push policies for industrialization, because that's what employs more people. Farming employs people, but it's less income. That's what we call it in economics. That's why in economics we say you move from agriculture to industrialization.
National Youth Council Programs Officer Ashan Kasom said youths in Malawi are motivated and committed to driving the country's development. He noted that unlike countries such as Japan, where an aging population creates labor gaps, Malawi has a large population which the government should strategically harness to achieve Vision 2063.
Important for young people. Actually, it's not important, it's necessary for young people to play a key role in the implementation of our national vision, Malawi 2063. Why am I saying this? I'm looking at three aspects. One is that we are looking at the demographic of our country. Over 70% of our national population is composed of young people that are aged below the age of 35, which means young people are key human resource which we need for us to propel our country moving forward. As without population, energetic, well-equipped population, country cannot move forward. So you need people to drive agenda. You need people to lead or champion development agenda.
Malawi Vision 2063, officially launched on January 19, 2021, is the country's long-term development blueprint. Succeeding Vision 2020, the plan seeks to transform Malawi into a wealthy, self-reliant, industrialized, upper-middle-income country by 2063. Phyllis Chizombe reporting for Luntha News.
Minister of Gender, Children, Disability and Social Welfare, Mary Navija, has reiterated government's commitment to professionalizing early childhood development (ECD) and boosting its financing in Malawi. She made these remarks in Lilongwe on Tuesday during the handover of an ECD advocacy communique describing ECD as a cornerstone of human capital development and a critical driver of the Malawi 2063 development agenda. Bridget Monoka has filed this report.
Navija opened by praising ECD Advocacy Task Team Chairperson Reverend Nancy Chunga for his strong leadership and dedication to advancing the sector. She explained that the ECD advocacy communique is pushing for higher public investment, better quality standards, stronger coordination, wider parenting education, and greater inclusion of children with disabilities. Navija assured stakeholders that the government remains committed to implementing the national ECD policy and enhancing community-based ECD services, particularly in rural communities.
This is a very important communique because it provides a platform to address issues that are concerning with children. As you are aware, as a ministry, as government, we have extended our task from concentrating on children only, but we are also engaging parents. We are also providing parenting education so that parents should also understand the importance of on how to raise their children.
Meanwhile, ECD Task Force Chairperson Reverend Nase Chunga applauded the government for notable progress in early childhood development, highlighting the adoption of the new ECD policy, the National Education Sector Implementation Plan, and the creation of the National Children's Commission.
What we are saying is that now that government is preparing for the next budget, we need an allocation minimum of 36 billion so that we see a turnaround in the implementation of ECD sector in Malawi. So I'm happy that the minister acknowledges the gap and is promising that I think we'll have some consideration.
During the event, it was also noted that ECD services have been decentralized to 10 district councils, with budget allocations now supporting activities at local level and ECD priorities incorporated into district development plans. However, with enrollment currently at 54%, there is an urgent need for increased funding and full professionalization to ensure all Malawian children have access to quality early learning. For Luntha News, this is Bridget Manoka.
Remember that you're watching news coming to you live from Bishop Navy Media Center, and today you're with me, Tandy Wimsmara. Before we proceed, let's have another look at the headlines. Pope Leo XIV invites Christians to bear one another's pain in World Day of the Sick message. Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority MERA attributes fuel price hike to rising import costs. Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiative (CIDED) demands fresh Chilima plane crash poll. And in other news, Uganda's military chief tells hiding opposition leader Bobi Wine to surrender. Proceeding with the news, Director of Environmental Affairs in the Ministry of Natural Resources, Daunga Baleluga, has highlighted the importance of carbon trading as a new source of financing for environmental conservation, climate adaptation, and national development. She made these remarks on Monday when she officially opened a 5-day carbon trading awareness session for journalists in Salima. Charity Shilanga is there and she reports.
Luka said the training is crucial for journalists to acquire knowledge on carbon trading, which is a relatively new area in Malawi. By equipping media practitioners with this information, She said the public can also be better informed about the opportunities and benefits of carbon trading. Luntha noted that carbon trading provides financial resources that can be used for conservation efforts, climate adaptation and mitigation while contributing to the country's overall development. She emphasized that it also promotes environmentally sustainable projects, introduces new technologies and supports livelihoods across communities. The director further explained that although interest in carbon trading is growing and some have begun engaging in the process, Malawi is yet to fully realize its benefits. Luntha said the government has put in place a carbon market framework to guide trading and ensure that communities directly benefit from projects implemented in the areas.
Carbon trading provides a new source of financing that can be used for conservation efforts, that can use for climate adaptation, mitigation, but also contributing overall to development of the country. Carbon trading, I would say, is basically trying to ensure that we also get technologies, because we are having projects from environmentally sustainable projects being implemented in the country. So it adds value to the environment in terms of benefits, but also it can support livelihoods in various ways, but also it also brings technology that we can learn and also be able to benefit or use in various aspects.
The 5-day training has been organized by the Environmental Affairs Department with support from the World Bank through the Regional Climate Resilience Program.
The Malawi Prison Service has called on partners to support tuberculosis screening, treatment and prevention efforts in prisons as the institution shifts its focus to early detection of the disease to further reduce infections among inmates. The development, according to Steve Mege, who is the Public Relations Officer for the Malawi Prison Service, comes as 70 inmates are currently on TB treatment, with most of the cases reported in maximum security prisons. Gift Kalonga has more details in this report.
In an interview with Luntha TV, Meke said Malawi Prison Services is currently working only with 3 partners, Eggbuff, Right House, and TB Paradiso, whose support mainly targets TB treatment, adding that more support is needed to strengthen early detection through screening. He said with an inmate population of nearly 15,000 in 29 prison stations, scaling up screening and prevention efforts is critical, stressing that inmate health care remains of paramount importance in the fight against TB in prisons.
Currently, the number of inmates on TB treatment is 70, and most of them are in our maximum prisons. Mid last year, the number was 150. These were inmates on TB treatment. So far, we only have 3 partners that their area of concentration is treatment.
Meanwhile, 70 inmates are currently on TB treatment, mostly in maximum prisons, compared to 150 cases recorded across various prisons in Malawi last year. For Luntha News, this is Gift Kalonga.
Now, in international news, Ugandan military chief Muhoozi Kainerugaba says he is praying for fugitive opposition leader Bobi Wine's death and has given him 48 hours to surrender to the police following a contentious presidential election. Former pop star Wine said he fled a military raid on his house hours before veteran President Yoweri Museveni was declared the landslide winner of last week's presidential election. We have more details in this Reuters report read by Patrick Popper.
Bobi Wine, who finished runner-up, has allegedly widespread fraud during the vote. He has released several statements since Saturdays from undisclosed locations. Muhoozi, who is Museveni's son, is widely believed to be his preferred successor, made a series of threats against Wine in post late on Monday on X, referring to him by the derisive nickname Kabobi. Writing on his post, he said he is giving Wine exactly 48 hours to surrender himself to the police, adding that if he doesn't, they will treat him as an outlaw and handle him accordingly. In another post, Muhoozi said in a reference to Wine's National Unity Platform party that they have killed 22 NUP terrorists since last week. That is, he is praying the 23rd is Kabobi. Police spokesperson Kituma Rusoke said on Monday night that Wine was not being sought after a tense campaign in which security forces repeatedly opened fire at Wine's rallies. Several incidents of post-election violence were reported. In one, the police killed several opposition supporters in central Uganda in disputed circumstances. At least 118 NUP members were charged in court on Monday with election-related offences, including unlawful assembly and conspiracy, court documents showed. David Rubongoya, the NUSP Secretary General, denied party members were involved in violent activity.
That also brings us to the end of what we had for you in this edition of our news bulletin. But before we go, here's a reminder of our headlines. Pope Leo XIV invites Christians to bear one another's pain in World Day of the Sick message. Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority MERA attributes fuel price hike to rising import costs. Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiative SIDED demands fresh Chilima plane crash poll. And in other news, Uganda's military chief tells hiding opposition leader Bobi Wine to surrender. My name is Tandi Wemzumara. Thank you for keeping me company, and do continue following the rest of our programs right here on Luntha TV. Now, do remember that we have these stories and many more on our social media platforms, so you can catch us on Facebook at Luntha Television and on YouTube at Luntha TV Official. Goodbye for now, and do stay safe.